All right, so earlier today I did a couple live streams where I was trying to figure out how to solve some coding problems to make sure I don't create any circular logic with my various stats and skills here. And I ran into some problems. About an hour and a half later, I had a pretty decent solution, but I knew I could do better. I took a nap. And then when I woke up, I had a better idea in my head. So I did that. And all the stuff I did before, I'm going to put after this part of the video. But I want to show the end result because it's all here, and the whole point of it. So the game I'm working on, Legend of the Stones, there's a lot of stats you can and skills you can learn. So stats or skills has all the different stats and skills. Some of them are things like age and level. Obviously, you're not going to directly control your age, but maybe that can be modified. So that can be modified. There's a base value, etc. Same with level. Same deal. Experience. This can't be modified. You can only be modified directly, and so you get 0 points. You get kill something, you get 10 points, but you don't get modified by equipping a weapon of learning. Weapon of learning would actually affect, that would be learning, the aspect would be, and that would affect the experience multiplier, which can be modified. And then in my code, whenever you gain experience, you'd gain the experience times the experience multiplier. Anyways, so there's a lot of things here, and then there's other ones that can be learned, of course, like these ones. You can learn the shield skill, and that can be trained. And then here we have what level you're at. Novice, you can gain expert, master, grandmaster. These are your skill points. These are what the user can assign. It can also be modified, etc. And the base value is basically going to be points plus base value is the true base value, where points is essentially a user controlled in some way, shape, or form. In some cases, it's going to be like, oh, I'm going to assign a skill point to the shield. But in other cases, like experience, those points go up when you kill something or solve a quest or something like that. But there's going to be other things, especially if it can be modified, that might add a base value. So there could be a ring of shielding that increases your base value of shield by 2. So instead of 1, it would be 3, 1 plus 2. But we don't want to change this. We just want to change the base value there. So that's why that's there. So there's a bunch of different ones. The problem that I was facing was that, that's all my stats and skills, or stats or skills in that case. Skill data objects, this is what controls what happens when you have a various skill learned. So like shield, for instance, it's an equip skill. That's going to be helpful for my equip script to know that, oh, you can equip the shield. And then for each of the different skill levels, there's going to be a cost, a base cost that could be modified during the game, depending on things, some description, flavor text, and then each one of these skills can affect something else. So earlier I mentioned experience, something of learning, right? So let's say you got learning, that's leather, there we go. Learning's not an equip skill, it's not a magic skill, it's a learned skill. So right now there's no effect that learning has when you have it. But what we can do here is add in experience multiplier, and now all of these have 1. And if I expand these, there's 3 different options here for each level. It's going to be the base value, values per skill point, and values per level. So for instance, if and then, of course, the other side here is the base value and the proficiency. In general, proficiency is going to be like a percentage multiplier, where 1 would be doubling 100%. So, if you want to give a 10%, then you just give 0.1, and that would give a 10% boost to the experience. And so for learning, for instance, we're going to do, we want a 10% boost at skill level 1. And so we're going to do 0.09 as a base value proficiency boost to all experience multiplier. And then per skill point, 0.01. So at 1 skill point, they're going to be 10% total. This is going to be added together. There's going to be 0 on per level. I'm just going to leave that 0 for there. Now, if the player were to add another skill point to the learning, then it would be 0.09 plus 2 times 0.01 or 11% and so on. And then for each of these, that value is actually going to go up. So let me just expand these. And it's going to be a double, triple, and quadruple the values here. So for the expert level, it's going to be 0.18 with 0.02. So now at it's just a base of 20. And then we're going to put 27 and 0.03. Whoops, 0.03 per skill point. And then finally, 0.36 and 0.04 per skill point. So if you're on the Grandmaster level of learning, then you would get 36% bonus just as its base, and then another 4% bonus for every skill point assigned. So the reason why I need to do a bunch of coding here was that there's a potential for circular logic. Because in this case, learning's affecting something that's not itself something you can learn. But something like Arms Master right here it's going to affect the weapons. And so that's something you can learn. So in theory, if I have Arms Master affecting Axe, and then Axe, if I select Arms Master here and affecting Arms Master, you can see how any change to one of the two would create an infinite loop where they keep, affecting each other. And that's what I wanted to avoid. And rather than avoid it via the code, where I constantly check to make sure there's no circular logic, I figured if I never set it in the first place, then it's not going to be an issue in the code. So that's where this editor script came up, and this need to say, okay, this list should never contain anything that would have a circular logic in it. So I had a system that was looking to do that, and it worked. If you watch the whole video, which I don't think anyone will, but if you watch the whole video, then you would probably see that that it did work, but it was slow. And so after my nap, where I magically came up with a genius idea, I thought about it a little bit more. And really what I realized is what's helpful in the game itself, which, I haven't coded this part yet, but what's going to be helpful is that knowing what I need to compute before I compute a final value of something. For instance, before I compute a final value of experience, which is going to be experience times the experience modifier. I need to make this alphabetical. I need to know what other things have to be computed first, because I know the experience multiplier, I can get that final value. It's basically points plus base value times 1 plus proficiency. So, if this is 0, this is 0, and this is 0.1, it's going to be 1 plus 0.1 for proficiency. And it's going to be experience, let's say 100 experience points times 1.1 is 110 total. Great. Now we know the experience. But now I have this learning that affects this. And before I can really say I know what the experience multiplier is, I need to know what the learning is. Because in theory, and this isn't always going to be the case, but in theory, something else could affect learning. Now, if we find learning here, we'll see that nothing's affecting it. It's right here. Affected by 0 other stats or skill. But what the game will end up doing now is saying, okay, before I can get my actual experience multiplier, I need to do learning. That needs to be computed first. And if learning had something down here, then that would need to be computed first. And now that could be a crazy branching tree itself. And so I decided to do all the difficult part of that, the computationally difficult part, in this script. So I will simply store the values here instead. So as an example, now this is not going to be the case in the real project, but let's say that Spellmaster has a effect on learning. Learning. Okay, so we're going to add that. And at novice level, let's say it just has, it doesn't really matter, an effective 1 on learning. Now, if I go back to all my stat and skills here, and we look at learning, we can see it's affected by Spellmaster. Great, that's good to know. But then if we look at experience multiplier, it's affected by 2 other stats or skill, learning on the first branch and Spellmaster on the second. Now, this can go down as many branches as it possibly needs to, But the end effect means that, hey, before I compute the actual value, the final values of experience multiplier, I first need to compute everything on branch 1, then everything on branch 0, and then I can compute this. And so in the actual code of the game, when the game is running at runtime and I'm... oh, gosh. Okay, well, there's 2 people watching and one of them might be a spam bot. Oh, well. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. So in the game, when you know, I want to keep things as light as possible. Hey, Foru. I in the game, when I want to keep it as light as possible, I know I don't really have to do that much. All I know is I have to do this, I have to do that. I don't have to figure out what I have to do. And so that's going to be a lot easier. The benefit was that the code was a lot simpler too. I know you're not a bot, but whoever that other one is, I mean, I don't want to really be famous, actually. I just you know, want to make games like a normal person. So let's check out the code, because the code's a lot simpler now than it was before. And I've got 2 editor scripts here, one for the skill data object and way over here, one for the stats or skills. And then on the stats or skills, I've got this new reload tree thing. So what it's really doing, first it's going to set up a list of the skill data objects. Now this only happens in the editor, which is great. So we're getting a list of all the skill data objects. Now that's all of these right here. These are the learnable skills. And then it's going to do the first branch for all of the stats or skills. Now this is the S there. This is all stats or skills. Each stat or skill has some other helper scripts, like counting the branch skills, counting the branch skills of a single branch, find out if a name is inside a branch, either all the branches or in this case a single branch. But this is on all of them, so this is going to reload on for every stat or skill. We're just going to clear the tree, add the first branch. Everything's going to have the first branch. It may be empty, but it's going to have a first branch. Then we're going to add the ones that are directly controlled by this. And I also added a new little helper method on the skill data object called directly effects. And that's basically going to go through each of the stat or skills on novice values base. Those are the same for all mastery levels and all effects, so you only have to do it one. And if the name is there, then it returns true. So this is basically adding all the branch 0 direct ones. The next ones we have to do in a loop, because we don't know how many branches there really are. And so this loop is doing a few things. I was smart this time and commented it. But while the loop is running, basically, for each stat or skill in this in all the stats or skills, it's going to do it once for each one. We're going to have a temporary list of skills to add, and we do this because there was a bug where you can't modify the skill while you're doing a for each loop. So we have to do it outside of that. Great, that's fine. First, we're not going to run this if there's not enough branches, i.e., if we're on branch 3 and this skill, dropped off after branch 0, index 0, then we're not going to run it, because that means that this tree is already run out of branches. We don't need to run it. We're also not going to run it if there's no skills in the active branch. Because if there's no skills in the active branch, then there's no possible way that there can be another branch filled with skills, because there has to be children or other skills that directly affect those skills. And then we're going to find the skills that directly affect the skills in the active branch. That's basically saying, hey, branch X, what skills directly affect those skills? Not this, but all the skills that are in that branch. We're using this helper script again. The data object, does it directly affect the skill name? We're going through all of these skills, because these are the only ones that can be in those. And if it does, then we're going to add it. If it doesn't, then we don't. And then finally, we're going to add the skills here. This is where we take the temporary list and we just go through each one and add those skills to the active branch plus 1. And then we're going to check the new count. If the new count is the same, which means that we didn't actually add any in this chunk for any of the skills, then we're done. we know we found that there are no more to add and we can break. Otherwise, we're going to set the new total branch skill, set the next active branch, and do it all over again. Now, I did add this loop protection just in case I messed up. I don't think I don't need it this time, but I'm going to leave it there because why not? I've made infinite loops before, as a normal person does. So that's basically all it does now. It's fast. If you were to follow the other ones, again, which I don't expect anyone to actually watch the whole thing, but if you were, it was a little slow, and that was frustrating. But this is fast now, which is great. I don't know if you noticed it, which happens right here. It's a click and it's just done. And it happens every time you add something here as well. So now if I go to Air Magic and I click Add Age, it happens. I can click Level and I can click all these, and it just happens and reloads the whole tree immediately, which is really cool. And then now I can delete these. It does ask you to confirm it. The undo's working as well. Always a good thing. So I'm just going to delete those because I don't need it. But now I'm going to add a new thing and show how it works. And this is the whole point of this. I knew that eventually I was going to add more skills, and I thought of one that I probably want to add. So I'm going to do that right now. We have Spellmaster and Arms Master. So Arms Master affects all the weapons. Spellmaster, as you might think, is not going to affect learning, but it's going to affect all the magic, the magic types. So we got Air Magic and Fire Magic. I'm just going to go through and add these. Water Magic and Body Magic and Mind Magic and Light Magic and Dark Magic. So all of the magic spells will be more powerful, slightly, if you are a Spellmaster. Where's the last spell? Dark Magic. There it is. All right. So now, great. Those are all affected. But I also want to do an Armorer, something that affects all the armors. So to do that, I'm going to first go to, and this is the first time I'm doing it, so if I mess up, I apologize. I'm first going to go to my stat or skills. I'm going to add a new stat or skill. We're going to call this one Armorer. Yeah, I think that's how you'd spell it. And let's see, it can be trained, yes, and it can be modified, yes. Do we have, oops, what's going on? Why is that? Okay, points 1, yes. So it starts out with 1 point. If you get it, you're on the first. You've got 1 point. So we're keeping it there. All right. So Armor is set here, and now we need, since it is something that can be trained, we need a skill, a data object for it. Now I could have coded this part, but I didn't. I think though I can just quickly enough do this and skill data. Yeah, there we go. Armor. Is that the right one actually? It doesn't look like, no, that's an old one. This is what happens when you change things 50,000 times. Create skill data object is the official, new skill data object. There we go. And Armorer. And this needs a name. So we're going to Armorer. All right. And that null reference can be ignored. And reload the skill tree. There we go. So now this is neither an equip skill nor a magic skill, but we can add the 4 armor types, which is going to be leather and chain and plate and shield. And so now on each of these, we have the ability to modify the values of those. So if you have the armor skill, you'll get the different values. And that's all I wanted to do. So I went through, it was probably about, I don't know, maybe total of 6 hours, 5-6 hours of struggling to figure out, maybe 5 hours of struggling to figure out that circular logic and actually getting to this point. But it's really cool because now I can quickly add a brand new skill and populate the values of those skills right here in the editor very easily. Don't forget to always save, because I do forget to save sometimes and then it crashes or something and I lose my data. So don't forget to save. And there you go. That's all there is to it. Hopefully this helps. I'm going to make a YouTube video and add the rest to the end of this segment. So if you were watching all this, feel free to like and subscribe. It's super helpful if you're on the Twitch stream, following us and subscribing to our Twitch stream channel. That would be wonderful too. We're trying to grow this, and both the Infinity PBR stuff and the the game I'm working on, trying to get the word out and just get more organic growth from those. So hopefully this helped you out if you got it this far. Honestly, I'm still learning as much as everybody else is, and having these editor scripts is quite helpful. Just last week I was thinking, I wouldn't need an editor script for all this, and now I realize I most certainly do need an editor script for all these. So glad I made it. All right, thanks everyone. Have a great day or night. All right, so this is the scene here, and what I'm working on is the stat or skills. This is an editor script, of course, but the editor script is intended to help me out a little bit. I've got some bugs here. I've been redoing all my a lot of my scripts and whatnot, and so this scene keeps having to be redone, which is fine because it's being made better each and every time. But what we've got here is these are the skills right now that you can learn. You can buy them, learn them, and then train them to be, novice, expert, grandmaster. And then at each stage, when you have some skill, they get bonuses. So at novice level, the base values of might be increased by, say, 1, or base proficiency by 0.1 or something. 0.1, which would be a 10% boost to might. And you could also do values per skill point, so that the character assigns more skill points to this axe skill, then that could go up, and values per level as well as the character levels up. So a lot of times these will just be 0, and it will only affect one thing. But and in the final thing, might will not be affected by the axe. But what I want to avoid is having something where, let's say that axe affects might affects, I don't know, chain, and chain affects axe, right? So now you've got a circular logic where increasing the value of axe would increase the value of might, which would increase the value of chain, which would then in turn increase the value of axe, and so on and so forth. So what I've done here in the editor script is when I'm adding skills that this skill will affect, I'm clicking this reload skills button, and it's going through, it took a second there because it's going through a lot of coding to check to make sure that I can add a skill. Unfortunately, it's not working. And so what I did a couple days ago before I had to go to bed, I wrote myself a note saying, try this. And so I'm going to try that. Currently, what I've been doing is, in essence, I've just been going through all the children and checking if I can learn it. I think I need to instead do it the other way around. So my notes here that I wrote for myself are basically, hey, make a ban list instead. So, basically all other skills that affect this one, in this case axe, will be banned, because none of those should be something that acts in effect, otherwise you got circular logic. However, we then need to go through each of those and check the ones that affect them, and so on. And you just keep doing that loop over and over until you've satisfied that that you've checked every potential other skill that could lead into an effect on this skill. And that would avoid the circular logic, because this drop down right here, once it loads, this drop down will only show the other skills that are not something that could affect axe. So that's where we're going. That's where we are, rather. And so I think I just need to repurpose this code that I already have, which is nice, for this alternate thing. So I'm going to start with a list, string list of, we're going to call this a ban list. And this is going to hold all the why'd this get spaced out? This is going to hold all the skill names that we cannot learn, or that we cannot affect from this, because it could affect this and create the circular logic. So we're going to start with that. And then for each stat or skill in this one, so we're not looking, I mean, we are looking for We are going to look for these because we don't want to have something on there twice either. But for this purpose, what we're really doing is going to look for all other stat or skills. So we need to get a list of all of these. How do we get a list of all of these? I think this is how I did it. All right, so really I need to go through this. So this is doing a few things. I'm copy pasting because I already did it a few days ago, but we're getting a string of GUID GUIDs, the GUIDs, I don't know how to pronounce that, what the term is, but basically asset database, find assets of skill data type, data object rather. All of these, this list right here, these are all skill data objects. So we're going to find all of them and then make another array of them, basically getting the objects, and we're going to assign that in this loop here. So we're getting the IDs, creating a new array to hold the objects, and it's the same length as the IDs. And then for each one, we're just going to add get the path, and then load the asset at the path. It's 4 steps, but what essentially it gets is this objects array is going to have all these in it. So that's great. So if we add more, then this code doesn't need to be updated. It's quite nice there. All right, let me just make some space. All right, now that we have that, we need to go through and check them. So we're going to do a for each, maybe skill data object. We'll call object and type this properly in objects. And I have that, so that's why we're underlined, because there's probably something else down here with an obj. Oh yeah, this one. So other object, we'll call other. And then for each one, we're going to do this. First, if the other object equals object, the one we're checking in this case, then we're going to add it to the no, because we already checked that here. So this is to check to make sure we're not adding the same one, but it looks like we're checking this here, so we don't need to check that for that here. Okay, so that's helpful. One less step to do. And now let's see. All right, so for each one, we're going to check to see if it affects this skill, and if it does, we're going to add it to the banned list. So we need to say each skill data object right here has these nice little helper things. So they're going to be the same. So if something's affected on novice, it's also going to be affected on the other. So we really only have to check one, and it's going to be affected on all 3 of these. So we only really have to check one of those as well. So what we're going to say is for each, I think we can do for each again, right? Skill data object object effects or effects triggers, we'll say object triggers in other object dot novice dot values base. That's a list of type for each, right? That's a list of skill data objects, I think. Oh, is that not stat or skill? Let's see. Okay, so what? Let's see. Skill data object mastery. I've got that down here. Okay, values base. Stat or skill. This is why this has been vexing me for a little bit. I like using that word, vexing. Just getting the right information, because if we look at show the full inspector here, we might have some errors thrown now because in the middle of the code. I'm going to show the full inspector for axe. Now we know that axe is currently listed as affecting might. We can see that here if we expand that, the base values, etc. So when we look at axe, okay, we got axe, novice, and Might. So all we really need is the name then. Okay. So that's what we really need to check. We're not trying to get a stat or skill object, but rather the name. So for each stat, what is this returning? Stat or skill, stat or skill, stat or skill. So for each one, if the stat or skill dot name equals equals object dot name, then we're going to say band list dot add stat other object dot name. All right. So what this is doing, it's going through all of our other objects, which are all of these, and then for each one of those, anything that it affects. So like if meditation affects axe, for instance, then we would find that here, and we'd see that stat or skill name, which would be axe, equals object name, which again is axe, and therefore we cannot have that meditation in this example can't be something that axe affects. Otherwise, you get that circular logic. Therefore, we just need to add that to the band list. All right, so what we've done here is adding the basic ones to the band list, but what we haven't done is added any of the things that affect them, because there could be a chain of 3 or 4 or 5 different things that could affect ultimately this axe and create that circular logic that we want to avoid. So what we need to do is check this objects in list, and that's what we're going to do here. And I'm going to make sure I'm copying the old version. Okay, so we'll do that here. Objects list is going to be band list dot count. And then let me just copy this code. We're going to modify it, but we're going to copy it and for now just to make it a little easier. So we're checking the objects in list. We know how many are in the list after this first chunk. There could be 0, and if there's 0, then great. This won't even run, or it will run once, but it will reach the end. And then we're going to check, did we reach the end, true or false? And then loop protection. I like to put this in just to make sure I don't create an infinite loop. So I increase that by 1. And if it gets to over 1,000, then we say, yeah, we reached the end. That way it doesn't crash the system if I mess up, which I've been known to do from time to time, once or twice per minute. Now, for each stat or skill name in band list, so we're going to use band list for these. I'm just going to go down the list here. Okay, so for each name in the band list, let's see, we're going through objects length, objects. Where did we get objects here? Skill data object. Okay. Okay, so for each one in the list, we are going through the objects and finding if the object is the name. And if the object is the name, then we're going through stat or skill, objects, novice values, base, which is exactly what we did up here. And then saying if the band list doesn't contain it already, then we're going to add it to the list. And why did I say add to list? Oh, that's right, because you can't change that within an array. So I had to do it outside of the array. And so where did I set this up? Okay, is that set up here? Yes, it's already set up here. So I'm basically making a list of strings that we're going to add to the array at the end. So this is collecting everything that's not already in the band list. And then we're going to add them to the band list outside of this for each loop. And then we're going to update, or we're going to check the count. If the band list count is the same as objects in list, i.e. nothing was added right here, then we've reached the end, and we can set that to true. Otherwise, we're going to update the band list count. This loop is going to do it again, and now it's going to go through the same band list. And all of those objects that we just checked, we're going to check again, but all the new additions we're going to check as well. And we're going to keep doing that until the count of strings in the band list has not grown. And once that's happened, then we've reached the end, and this loop will break. And then we need to basically say anything on the band list should not show up in this dropdown right here. That's the whole point. And so let's see. So then this is the last chunk, and let's just copy paste that up there. Put some more space there, and we're working on the band list, not checklist. Okay, if any of these affects the one we are checking, we're going to return true. That means this method it returns true or false if it has circular logic. Between skill data object, which is ax, and name, which is going to be the drop-down name. And that's why this works to return it. So it will return true if it's itself, basically. All right, we'll see if this works. Let me just check this last chunk. So for each object, if the band list contains that object's name, then I believe we just need to return true. Let me just comment this out for a second, because return true. Because what we're really doing here is saying, okay, if it's on the band list, return true. Simple as that, really. And so really, we don't necessarily need to do this for loop at all. Is that true? Maybe. Let's see. Let me just comment it out, because what I'm thinking here is what we really need to do is for say for each string band name in a band list, and type things properly. We need to do that too. For each one, if band name equals name, then return true. So basically, the name we're checking is passed in. So if it's on the band list, then we're going to return true. And that makes me think, if we find out that it's banned earlier, then we can return true and just not do the rest, right? So let's do this. Let's say we're going to do a couple things. We're going to create this and expand this. I'm not sure what that's called, actually. The what happens after the if. And we're going to say if other object.name equals name, then we're going to return true. Because we don't need to do the rest. We're only checking one name. So if we've already found that that name is banned, then we don't need to do the rest. If it's not banned, if that's not directly banned, then we just need to check it, because we know this one is officially not allowed, but we need to check all the other things that feed into it. And that's where we do the rest of the things. So we can do the same here. Again, if we find it, then we can just stop what we're doing entirely. Okay. And then realistically, I think that means if we didn't find one, then we can just return false, but that's my old code. I don't think then that we really need to do, this loop, but I don't think we need to do this loop, right? Because it would have found it up here when it was adding it to the list in the first place. So I don't think we even need to do this. So let's see if that works. Return false, which means there's no loop. Jack of all trades, yeah. I guess I'm not the best at anything, that's for sure. But I try. All right, so let's see if it works. Let this reload. And we're going to clear reload skills. Should be faster. Okay, it didn't quite work here. Something happened. 38. It's not loading. Let me load up writer then. Line 38 on skill data object. What's going on here? Return the mastery. Why is it even trying to return the mastery of an object there? Let's work it out. Okay, I'm going to take a few steps back in this list here. Skill data object, line 249. Let's see where that is. Okay. For each one, get novice. Okay, so other object is going to be here, and then novice is this. So get mastery, get novice, and so that's probably where we're getting wrong here. So 18, sure enough, line 18, line 50, return mastery, and then line 38, return mastery. So what it's doing is we're calling the mastery by name. So this is basically saying that there is no, because mastery 0 is always going to be novice. So if it's not one of these things, we're just going to return 0. And then this actually returns the object itself, the skill data object mastery. So it's saying that this is not, we don't have one for this. And I guess that could be the case. So what we really need to do then, let's go a little bit further back beyond 249, or we'll start with 249. At this point, we can say then that if there is none, so what we can do is say, so I think all skill data objects have, well, they're supposed to. Let's see. They're supposed to have novice, expert, master, base, but master, grandmaster. But if they don't, let's see. They should all have novice. I think that's like a part of their definition. All right, so they definitely have all novice. So what is this saying again? 38 didn't have the mastery. Interesting. Okay, well, what we can do here is let's check that here then. It's other object. So if other object dot mastery dot count mastery count is less than 4, or just say it's not equal to 4, because there should be 4. That's just hard coded in this project, and I'm okay with that because I'm not going to expand that. I'm 99.9% sure. Knock on wood. So if the master count is not 4, we're going to tell us this. So debug.log, we'll do a warning. Warning. Other object dot, I should do other object dot name only has other object dot mastery dot count mastery entries. Okay, misspelled that, but let's see if that gives us a hint as to where this is going wrong. All right, working on axe. So reload skills. Air Magic Grandmaster has only 0 mastery entries. Well, that's, oh, okay. Did I, what have I done? Air Magic Grandmaster. That's interesting. Is it because oh. Is it listed here by any chance? I don't see it here. See air magic, which is what I'm supposed to see. A mystery indeed. Air magic Grandmaster. Okay. So, that's why. That is why. Interestingly, it does have, it seems, it does have mastery. It does. But maybe it has to be loaded here to get those. So, what we have here is the old skill data. And that is what's causing the problem. These are all my old skill data. When I used to have, what's this? Do I need this? These are all legacy things that I don't need anymore. So what I think is happening, and I'm just going to test this by opening those, going back to my axe and reload skills. Axe expert. Okay, so what I think I did was when I load this in the inspector, it adds the 4 skill types. And so all I really have to do here, kind of a silly solution, is just load each one of these in here. I don't want to delete these yet because there's data here that is going to be valuable, I think, to copy paste and see what I was doing before. So I'm just not ready to delete them. I try not to delete things like this if I don't have to right away until I'm really confident that I don't need them. But in this case, they did cause a problem. And so we're just going to solve that by loading these up. And then once we've done that to all of them, I can go a little faster. This should work now, I think. Let's see, reload skills. All right, good, no errors there. Okay, no weird errors there. And we should not see might because might is already in the list. Might. Don't see might. Oh, it would be up here. Okay, it's not there. That's great. So let's create some potential circular logic. So axe affects might, and we're going to say might. Where's might on this list? Oh, it's not on this list because it's not something that you can learn in that fashion. So I need to add a delete button so I remove something. But anyways, so let's add something that we can learn. So let's say that axe is going to affect bow for some reason. So let's find bow on my list. Bow. Where is bow? Maybe it's already being called for some reason. Oh, I think it is. Do you know why? I know why. Because it affects all of these. So does that mean axe can't affect? Because axe is being affected by arms master. So certainly axe shouldn't be able to affect arms master. And so it's not on the list. It should be right above spellmaster. That's just the order I did it in. All right. And so let's just try to create one. Let's see one right now. We see plate, right? We see plate. Okay, I can add plate. But let's say that plate affects axe. Oops. Let's load that up. Reload the skills. We should see axe in this list because right now there is no link there. Sure enough, it's here. So let's add that. It does the reload skills after you add as well, just to make sure. And then there it is. It's added. So now I need to do a reload skill when this pops up because right now plate is there, but that would cause circular logic. And the whole point of this is to avoid me accidentally causing circular logic. Whoops, I accidentally clicked add on age. Okay, that's fine. It reloaded the skill, so now plate should be gone. Okay, great. Now let's say that shield affects plate. And, you know, if shield affects plate and plate affects axe, then ultimately shield affects axe. And we don't want that to happen. We don't want that to be the case. So we will assign this to plate. And we will say that shield now affects the plate armor. I will remove this there so we can. Okay, now when we reload on axe, then it should work once the script loads. Let's see. Reload skills. And can we do shield? We can do shield. That's a problem. Let's try again. Reload skills. We're on axe, right? Shield. Okay, let's just make sure I didn't mess up somewhere else. Shield, effects, plate, right? And then plate affects axe, so therefore shield should not be able to affect axe. All right, so my code did not work. That's disappointing, isn't it? Okay, so what we'll do is start some debugs. Found to ban stat or skill dot name. Okay, and then here. And we're going to number these just so we know where they were found to ban. Whoops. All right. Let's check that. I was hoping it was just going to work, of course. It's always nice when things just work. Look at that. 64 hours of baking. Earlier it said 100 and something hours. So now it's only 64 hours left. At that rate, we'll be done in like 2 hours. All right, let's see. Reload the skills. We're on axe. Reload the skills. All right, we found an axe to ban. That's great. I'm not sure where we found it here too, but that's okay. Dagger, mace, all these things. Axe, mace, axe, axe. Just because it's checking it multiple times, it only adds it to the ban list if it needs to be checked, if it's not already in the list. All right, maybe not. Maybe we've got another issue, and maybe that's why it's taking so long. Let me just double check, make sure that we are not hitting our limit here. Debug.log warning. Hit limit, you have a loop, sir. Because there's no way it gets to 1,000. I think there's a way it gets to 1,000 otherwise. So that could be where the problem really lies. Let's see in a second. All right, clear those out. That's fine. All right, reload skills. Is a warning here. That could be why it's taking so long too, because it's going through that 1,000 times. All right, no, it's just going through a lot. Why is it going through so much? Let's try to get some more information out of this. I mean, first of all, we shouldn't even be finding axe here at all. We shouldn't find axe to ban. So let's solve that first, because axe shouldn't show up here at all. Skill data object axe. Okay, well that okay, I'm going to leave that one alone for now, but we'll say this right here. We're going to say if stat or skill.name equals object.name, then return true, because that means it's axe, and we don't want to see any axe in this list. So I'll add those there, and then we'll clear this out and try again. Double check to make sure there's no axes. This is the, I don't know how you do it. I like to do it one step at a time when I face things like this, because Other times I get too wrapped up and confused. So. Did it work? Okay. Now it's working. Huh. Now it didn't return anything. Interesting. Does anything affect axe right now? Let's make leather affect axe. Well, yeah, something affects axe. Right? We said plate affects axe. Yeah. So there's definitely plate should be on that list. It shouldn't be nothing. So now it's a deeper mystery. All right, let's figure this out. Okay, so we have all our objects. We know we're collecting them because we had that other error earlier. And we're checking to make sure it has mastery. They all have mastery. And if they don't, we're just going to say continue so that we skip that one, just in case there's ever an issue in the future. And then, so for each stat or skill in that values base. So let's debug.log checking and other object.name. So we'll confirm that we're checking plate, the plate skill, which is where we want to see axe. So for each stat or skill, of which axe is one of them, in novice values base, if stat or skill name equals object.name, and object.name is what we're checking is axe, right? Let's just confirm that too. Debug.log has circular logic skill data object.name equals skill data equals object name, and we'll also say name string name equals name, just to check to make sure we're on that. So let me check those and see if that's where the issue is. Man, I was really hoping this was going to be a half-hour stream, but it's going to be a little bit longer now. All right, let's go. We're on axe. Reload skills. Should see some stuff pop up. Okay. So, yes, we are checking. Where's age coming from? Okay. A couple things. There's a lot here. I think. Okay. Let me. This is my. I'm getting confused, but also thinking of realizing where I might be wrong. Let me just double check where this is being called. Set skill list. That's this drop-down list that you saw earlier. And for each available skill, which is basically all our skills, we're going to check to see if it has circular logic. So, and that's why if these are the same, then yes, it's circular because it's the same thing. So we have, in this case, we're checking like age. Which is not one that you can assign, but it is something that can be affected. And therefore, that means that if there is no skill data object with that name, with this name, then there's no circular logic. So what we can do right here then is say what we can do is string skill data object names equals new string and GUIDs.length. So what we're going to do real quick here, we're going to assign that as well. SDO names I equals objects I dot name, and we're going to put a check here and say if SDO names I contains and pass in name, and we're going to really so not I. If skill data object names does not contain, or if it does not contain the name, then we're going to return false. Why can't we do that? So, band list contains. Oh, is it supposed to be an array? Band list is a list. Oh, that's right. So list of string equals new list of string, and we don't need to do the length, and then add the name. Okay. All right, so now we should not see anything after age, because age isn't something that can affect X. Age is only these objects here are something that can affect one of the other things. Age is a stat or skill that just can't affect others. It can only be affected by others. Whoops, I pressed play. That was the wrong button. Autopilot. It will load and then it will stop, and then we will clear. All right, and then X, reload skills. All right, good. That's very, very good. We're skipping all the ones that have no effect. Aha, then we're getting to air magic. Great. That's excellent. Okay, and there's still a ton. So, sword, we're looking for then is plate. Those come before the others. So dagger, axe bow. See, axe was returned. That's good. Shield. Okay. Shield and then plate. Plate. All right, checking. So one of the things that plate affects is axe, and that's what we want to find. So we are looking at 262 here. And this is just saying basically, why is it checking all of these, right? It shouldn't only be checking the ones under it. Let's see. Pulling on my beard that needs to be shaved. So we're checking plate. Therefore, I think this step is not needed. That could be the case, because okay, wait. Wait just a minute. Okay. So the whole point was to make a list of objects that cannot affect this. And if any of those, or objects that affect this or objects that affect them, and go down that list of grandchildren. And then if any of those names match this name, then return true, there's circular logic. That was the whole point. That's the simplest version. So we're making a list of things that affect this data object dot name equals ax. And then in this line where we're saying checking, right here, we're going through all the other objects in objects. Okay, so we've made a list of all the objects that we could check. But we really only need to check name, which in this case is plate, right? No, that's not right. That's not right. We still need to make a band list. We just need to, okay. So that's what we're doing. We're going through making a band list for each one. Okay, ignore that line. Okay, so we're checking Air Magic Expert, and Air Magic Expert has none, so that's fine. Just going to go down this list. I wonder if this is alphabetical. It looks alphabetical. So shield is the one, and plate. Look at that. There's only novice was removed from each of these, so there should be 3. So yeah, there's 3. Shield, shield, shield. But none of these are the bare ones. Did you notice that? Okay, what I'm going to do is delete this old data. Hopefully that doesn't throw everything into chaos. That should drastically reduce the size of that debug. Okay, let me reload again. Much smaller now. Okay, we're ignoring all these, and we're getting down to these ones. Okay, checking Air Magic Arms Master. Arms Master affects axe. So Arms Master should definitely not be on this list. And it's not. I think we checked that earlier. It should be next to Spell Master, wherever that is. Huh. Looks like none of them are on this list. So that's a problem. Ah, I see. I see. It's checking Arms Master, and Arms Master is banned. Since Arms Master banned, okay. So this needs to be removed. That was wrong to add. Okay. All right. Reload the scales again. Okay, air magic. That's on this list. So it's going through. Found one to ban. Axe. Great. Okay. So we're going to look for plate right here. Good. Okay, searches through plate. Found one to ban. Axe. Now, if it finds one to ban, this is where I got stuck before. I added that because I was like, oh, I found axe. So, but really, it's ban list add. So this is just Okay. Gosh darn it. This circular logic stuff is getting a circular logic mess in my brain, my mashed potato brain. Okay, when I say find one to ban axe, then I'm going to add find one to ban because this other object is what I'm really. So I can remove this. So ban list, add other object, and then I'm going to say continue. That would skip. That doesn't break. So break this loop. Because I don't need to find more than one to ban, right? If I find one to ban, then it's good. I can ban it. It's on the ban list now. And then it'll move on to the next one. Okay, let's try that. We should see less than 860, and on plate, we should see it stop after found one to ban axe. These are the type of things that I'm sure there's a very simple resolution. Right, reload skills. All right, there's more. That wasn't what I expected. Body magic, mind magic, light magic, dark magic. Okay, leather chain, plate should be next. All right, found one to ban axe, and it did not change. Let's see. 267. I guess it could have, because and then it's just going to check the next one. So really it's checking arms master. And axe is an arms master. So I should be saying what we're banning is arms master. Wait. For each, so we're checking arms master, other object.name. Found other object.name. So that's what we're banning. We're not banning axe, we're banning arms master. And add that to the list. Okay, I'm going to put a debug.log ban list is now ban list.count. Okay. And then it's going to check ax, which comes after that. But since ax is the object, that's where we can say okay, if other object obj dot name equals object dot name, then we're going to continue. In other words, don't check it if it's the one that we are originally checking. You just skip that completely. Okay. Let's try that now. Reload skills. Okay, we'll go down to plate again. Chain plate. All right, checking arms master, found one to ban arms master because arms master affects ax, so we're going to ban it. We skipped ax. Good. Good, good, good. Okay. One more step closer. Does it say how many found one to ban plate? Well, that's good because plate, yeah. Ban list is now 2. Okay. And then at the very end, ban list is now 2. Okay, that's good. We found the two things that directly affect ax, which is arms master and plate. But now we need to go through each one of those and see if any of the things that affect them affect ax. Because if x affects plate and plate affects ax, then effectively x affects x affects ax. All right, so that's what we're supposed to be doing here in the ban list. So what we're going to do is add some of these. Debug.log. We reached the end. And then otherwise, we're going to say the ban list is now that count. So I'm just going to run this. We didn't find anything to ban to, so I think it's just going to say we are done and ban list, and that's it. There's not going to say ban list is now 2. In theory, it's supposed to go above 2 because I know that shield affects plate, and therefore shield should be included in that ban list as well. Scroll all the way to the bottom. We didn't even get to the loop being complete. So that's interesting. How come we didn't get here? Let's see. Debug.log loop protection. Okay. Well, reach the end is false, and it is. Add to list. Okay, so this is an empty list of things we're going to add. For each string in ban list, which has 2, okay. Let's just check that now, and we'll see. Okay, and we'll see what happens. Okay, loop 0. So we are going through the loop at least once. Is there, okay, we're returning true probably. This is probably where we're messing up. Okay, I don't think either of these should be here then. So, you know what, but instead of just deleting them, I should be a little smarter and just comment them out in case they should be there. And then this one, I will re-add. Earlier I commented this one out, but in all the banned lists, if anything's banned, if the name is banned, then we'll return true. Okay. Let's try again. I want to see found to ban to and then see shield. That's what I'm looking for. All right, let's try it once more. Reload. We'll just scroll all the way to the bottom when it loads. Okay, ban list now 15. That's good. We reached the end. Loop 2. We reached the end. Okay. That means that it was finding more items to ban. Certainly, do these ones need to be banned? Does spear need to be banned? I don't think so. Does spear affect anything? Spear does not affect anything. So this is incorrect. What we're actually probably facing here is if I were to see which one we're checking. So debug.log ban list checking ss.name. This is probably going to be Armsmaster because Armsmaster affects all of the weapons, which they're all listed here. So so what we're really looking at, okay, so we're checking Armsmaster for all the objects, these ones. If the object's name equals SS name, Armsmaster. For each stat or skill, so what we're really doing, okay, so we're not supposed to be checking what stats or skills Armsmaster affects. We need to see what things affect Armsmaster. So this chunk of code right here is not correct. So let me just mark that down. Check to see which other objects affect this one. And so that's where we do the same thing, this other object, right? Let me just, so what we're going to go through is okay, actually, take a step back. So for each ban list, we're checking that one. Okay, and then for each other object, what we're going to see, we're going to check for is right here. For each stat or skill that this other object affects, if stat or skill name equals SS name, then we will ban this other object's name. And we'll add it to the list. And then we will break out of this loop. And that should be good. Okay. But we're not going to add it. We have to say add to list, right? So, yeah. Okay. We need to do that other object.name. Because we're basically saying, hey, this other object matches this name, therefore I need to ban it. Okay. And then we'll add those. All right. Let's see if that works. It's half hour. task is turned into an hour and 5 minutes. All right. We're on Axe? No, we're on Axe. Reload skills. We'll just scroll down to the bottom and see what popped up. It's taking longer than usual. It's because we're doing a lot of checks, and I probably need some additional breakpoints. Not breakpoints, but spots where I say continue or something, so it doesn't keep checking everything. Especially since I could potentially create another loop inside that code. I wonder if I did. That could be what's going on here. I'll let that chug away while I look to find the loop. Okay, pretty sure there's a loop. All right, you know, I think I'm going to take a break and come back to this. So thank you for watching. I will update on my Discord when I have found the solution. And I will post this video on YouTube as well because, you know what, maybe somebody wants to watch it. If you haven't followed me here on stream, please do. Or here on Twitch, rather. Please do. And thank you for listening to me ramble for the last little bit. Thanks. All right, I think I actually solved it. I just ended the last stream like 3 minutes ago. Then I went through the code again and I realized I was missing one bit, I believe. I was missing this part. If it already contains that, I should not be adding it. So only add it if the band list doesn't already contain. Otherwise, yes, I would be adding the same ones over and over and over and over again, and the band list would only get bigger and bigger and bigger. And that is a loop. So try it. Shouldn't take that long to finish. Aha! Okay, good. Skip down. We reached the end. Band list is now 2. It should be bigger than that. But let's see. We have the other ones. Do we have shield? We do have shield. Okay, so that we still have the issue is still here. But I don't have that loop anymore. So let me just walk it through again. So let me just get my debug logs up here again. Okay. Loop 0. Checking Arms Master, checking Air Magic, or find Armed Bear Air Magic. Band list is now 2. Should be higher than that. So add to list. Add debug to log. Add to list is now. Add to list.count. So let's just check that, make sure we're actually adding it properly. Let me remove that break. Okay, and then okay, add to list gets reset, right? Gets reset right here inside the while loop. So that's fine that we don't reset it there. So band list is adding and it should go up. Okay, yeah, because we should see plate here. because plate affects. So plate should be banned, and there were 2, but it only showed 1. Reload skills or reload list. Yeah, skills. Scroll all the way down again. All right, ban list is now 1. Should be 2. Now 1, ban list now 2. Checking Arms Master, checking Air Magic. Now why didn't it check plate? That's the question that we need to ask or answer. Plate. Plate. Just confirm. Just make sure nothing happened. Ah, well, that's why. Apparently it didn't save because I had to force quit. So let's redo that. So it might actually be working now, which is great. So I'm going to force this to affect Axe. And when I add, it reloads the list. Again, I need to add the reloading of the list when I load up a panel to make sure that I don't accidentally add a status skill. Okay, we should see plate now in this bottom list. We do. Great. And now we don't see it here. Let's see. Our armors. We do not. Now I'm going to add shield. Make shield affect plate. Because if shield affects plate and plate affects axe, then of course shield affects axe as well. So shield should not be something that axe then can affect. Okay, and then we'll go back to Axe once that reloads the skill list. Reload. We should see it printed out down here. And I see shield. And we should see that shield is no longer here. Oh, that is nice. Okay, it's working now. It's working. So I feel like Anakin Skywalker. And now I'm going to clear my debugs. This script is something I will likely, well, I could probably make it more efficient, almost certainly. But for now, it's working, and it's just an editor script that, honestly, is not going to be used that much. Once I set these up, unless I add a new one, which I might do from time to time, this won't really be needed. But since I need to set it up again, since I accidentally deleted the data before, when I changed the names of, what just happened? Oh, and it crashed. Okay, reload it. 60 hours left of light mapping. It's a long time. Yeah, in the debugs, I've got misspellings, but I generally don't go back and fix them unless they're really egregious, or I'm going to release the content. I misspell things a lot. Let's see. Okay, let's try again. Of course, I had to quit, so I don't think it saved. It didn't save. So let me just reconfirm things and make sure that there's nothing in my script itself that's causing it to quit. Okay. And plate will affect X. Confirm that. Okay. And then do shield. And shield will affect plate. Push the wrong button. While we're here, oh, it does reload, so plate. Oh, we affected age instead. Okay. plate. All right, well, that's an issue right there. This should not choose age, and this plate shouldn't be here. So these ones that are being directly affected should not be here at all. And if we go back to axe, reload these skills, we shouldn't see plate. We don't. That's correct. So why is it that in here, do we see might? We do see might. Okay, so we're no longer checking for the direct children. So let's just fix that. All right. So we just need to go through the list of these ones that this one affects. So let's just copy this. I'm going to put this at the top under here. So we're checking axe. So for each stat or skill that it's already affecting, if stat or skill name equals name, then we're going to return true. That means circular logic because we already affect it. And happens all the time these days, that window thing. Just reload the skills. Okay, I guess it might's not there. Good. And let's go down to plate. Should see no axe. Weapons are down here. I do see an axe. Reload skills. All right, so axe is gone. So next things to add, I'm going to do this off the stream, but next things to add will be reloading the skills whenever this loads, and then having a delete button, because currently there's no delete button to remove any of these from the list, and we need that. All right, thanks. Glad that worked.